Josh here. So today we're doing a bit different of a video. So this video is 7 years in the making. This is my wife and occasional camera woman person. This is her vehicle and it lacks a bit of maintenance. Usually it only gets fixed when it gets really broken. So case in point, so if I wipe this dipstick off, no oil on the dipstick.
You know.
So it doesn't get the maintenance it really deserves. And the fuel filter is one of those spots. So we've never done it. We bought the car with 360 on it and it's got 510. So it's got 150,000 on this fuel filter. And the buddy that I bought it from, he had it from about 300 until 360. And I'm pretty sure he never did the fuel filter there. So it's got at least 200,000 K on the fuel filter, which is supposed to be done every 32,000 kilometers. So we're six times over the interval. So we're gonna see how big of a difference a new filter is versus the old filter. See if it's a conspiracy theory, if it's big corporate wants to sell you more fuel filters, or if it's actually an important part. Well, it is an important part. The filter has to filter, and you need good flow for the engine and the precise injectors and stuff, but just curious on how bad the fuel filter can get before you have any issues. So right now it's got a little bit of a miss at idle. I'm not sure if that's got something to do with the fuel filter or if it's got something to do with the 10 other codes that's active on it, but we're gonna test a few ways to see if the old filter versus the new filter, how big of a difference it is, and yeah, we'll get into it. So the first way we're going to test how this filter is filtering or flowing is with the pressure gauge. So on this PD engine or pump goose, or however you want to pronounce that, you've got an in-tank filter at the back, or in-tank pump at the back, pumps fuel up to your filter, which then goes to your tandem pump, creates more pressure, and then it gets fed into your injectors across the top, which I don't have any out right now, but I'll get some out later. So this is a low pressure line. It's 5/16 line if you want a fuel line, if you want to just make your own little test rig. Fuel filters aren't necessary. I just didn't have any joiners, so they're cheap, easy joiners. So we're just gonna check pressure. The main thing is you want positive pressure under high demand, as in like full load. The second way we're going to check this fuel filter is using a draggy. So we're going to set up time, so it should record time from 60 kilometers to 100 kilometers. That'll be a third gear pull. I'll basically roll into it from 50 above, and we'll do best of 3 before and after the fuel filter change, and we'll see how big of a difference it actually makes. So the third way here that we're going to do this is using the Group 23 injector switch time deviation, or BIP, the before injection period. So that's basically how long it's taking the solenoid to actually close and the injector to inject. Negative numbers are a good indication of lack of fuel. So obviously you want positive numbers, so idle's not a big deal right now, but under load, if that's going negative, that's a good indication that you've got fuel supply issues, which could be fuel pump, or the filter, or other things obviously. So the fourth way of seeing how clogged the filter is obviously cutting it apart and seeing what's inside. So we'll wait for the end for that one. Okay, so we're on our country road, so we're going to do our test. That gauge is reading 0 pretty well all the time while driving, so it's a pretty good indication it's lacking fuel. I'm going to do a screen recording on this so I can compare the 3 runs, and I'm just going to switch to the draggy here now.
60.
Fuel pressure gauge was a waste of time because it was 0 the whole time. If you're going to do this, get a gauge that's 0 to 10 psi, not 0 to 60. That's just, hydraulic testing, so that's all I had. The draggy was 6.5 seconds to 6.65 seconds, average between the 3 runs. And then the bips were, I think I saw -30, -35. So it was negative the whole time. So we're gonna put a new filter on, and we're gonna do a quick diesel purge. We're gonna fill the filter up with this stuff first. It's an injector cleaner. Just run it straight. And then I'm gonna go drive it hard to get all that stuff burnt through, and we'll resume testing here. So this isn't really rocket science. You got a screw here, it holds the clamp on. You got your 4 lines. You can just pull this butterfly up and off. These 2 here off, and then get your filter out. So no load, that's 8 PSI, so that's a pretty big difference from the 3 or 4 that it was before. So let's go test it out.
60. 100.
So back from the test drive with our new filter. So some differences. So the fuel pressure after the fuel filter was about 8 PSI now, and during driving it was still probably about 5, so it's a lot better than what it was before. But wide open it was still dropping down. The best I could see was 0 to 2 PSI, so it wasn't ideal. The my V10 there, when I did this same kind of test, it would only drop about a PSI or 2, so I'm wondering if I still have a fueling issue. The other thing was the bip was still staying negative on wide open runs. So whether I've got a weak tandem pump or the sock on the pump's clogged, something like that. Gotta dig into that a little bit more. And the idle is still rough. So that did not get any better. But what did get better was the 60 to 100 times. According to Draggy, with the new filter, it was 6.09 and 6.35, I think, in between there. So that's 0.3 to 0.6 seconds quicker. So that's a bit of a difference. Drivability, I didn't really notice a whole lot of difference, so kind of is what it is. But let's see how bad this 10-year-old or 9-year-old 200,000 kilometer fuel filter looks like. Alright, so here's the old one cut apart. I'm assuming all this yellow stuff is the glue that holds the filter media together. It's just like a big roll of it pretty well. Yeah, bit of gunk in there. It's quite black, I'm assuming from the bit of oil leakage out of the injectors. So definitely not as bad as what I thought it would look like, but it's definitely starting to kind of come apart. You can kind of see the color difference, how it used to be white, now it's just caked in crap.